Many people say that a smartphone camera could never compete against a dedicated camera. And while there is some truth in that, I don't think that's the case 100% of the time. Take a look at this ocean shot I got early in the morning as the sun was coming up. We can see an almost reddish or magenta hue with camera B, whereas camera A gives us a more realistic shot, in my opinion. The watercolor, the sky, the reflection, the sand, and the rocks are overall more saturated with camera B than the more neutral look we get with camera A. Can you guess which camera got which shot? And when I turn both cameras to a different angle that's not being directly backlit by the sun, we still get a color difference, but the color hues change between both shots. And in this shot, I happen to like camera B's color better because it looks more realistic to me, whereas camera A has more of a neutral tone. In an environment where both cameras have less lumens to work with, like this low light fountain shot, I don't think one camera has a better image quality than another, but I do see difference in their color science. And then we have this night shot of the train. Camera B has better dynamic range with almost no midtones lifting, whereas camera A, you can see quite a bit of those midtones being lifted. And here you can see that camera A has less of a realistic looking skin tone than we get with camera B. This video is not sponsored by Google and it's not sponsored by DJI. In fact, this video is not being sponsored by anyone. But if you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to join the Film Alliance by subscribing. I left a link to the free project files of the shots that you just saw and some others in the description in case you'd like to download the footage that I got with both of these cameras. This way you can see the shots without YouTube's compression. Please make sure to like this video so I know to make more videos like this one. Some of the comparisons we're going to be covering today is how both cameras react in low light situations. I'm going to shoot in the different frame rates like 4K 24 and 1080 60 for all of my 1080 shooters out there. And then we're going to do an actual product video shoot. I'll do an autofocus test. We're going to see how their colors match up in an A-cam, B-cam setup. I'll do an exposure transition test. We'll do some green screen work. We're going to throw both cameras into an overhead configuration and do a vlog test and listen to both cameras' native audio. All right, I'm ready. Are you? Let's go. If you own an Osmo Pocket 3 or you plan on purchasing one, I created a course on how I set mine up for cinematic shooting, how I use it in different lighting environments, and how to get the most out of it complete with project files. I'll leave a link to that course in the description. But for now, we're going to be talking about my experience with both of these cameras and which camera is right for you. As of the time of recording this video, the Pixel 9 Pro starts at $999 US and it was released in September of 2024. And the Osmo Pocket 3 starts at $619 US and it was released in October of 2023. But this price continues to go up, so keep an eye out for it. The first thing that I did was I jumped into the field to test out how both of these cameras would react in an uncontrolled lighting environment. I shot with both cameras in program auto and some of the shots were manual exposure shots. One big difference between smartphones and content creation cameras is the difference in saturation, as you can see in this shot. My experience has been that smartphones usually oversaturate their image and the only way to bring it down is in post-production. As we look through these shots throughout the rest of this video, you're going to see more and more of what I'm talking about. And that's one of the reasons why I like the Osmo Pocket 3's look better in this particular shot. Next, I jumped into a low light situation to see how well the camera sensors would react in that lighting situation. In this low light shot of the mini movie theater, you can see how the Google Pixel 9 Pro lifts up the midtones, and the whole shot is a little bit brighter than the Osmo Pocket 3 shot. I also went into an arcade to see how both cameras would react to all of those different neon lights, and you can see that the same thing is happening just like we were seeing in that first shot. The Pixel lifts up all of those midtones, and it makes everything a little bit brighter, whereas the Pocket 3 keeps those shadows in check. And take a look at this night shot of the train. The Osmo Pocket 3 has a better motion blur, in my opinion, and the train has a little bit more detail in itself. The Pixel seems to have more detail on the ground though, but overall it's lifting up those midtones, and it doesn't make for that cinematic of a shot. I did this sunrise shot at the beach, and here are the results. Both of these shots are so different that it's hard to compare and contrast. Let me know which one you like better and why. The next thing that I did was I tested out their stabilization while I was walking in this park. And for this particular shot, I'm gonna have to give it to the Osmo Pocket 3. Both stabilizations are amazing, but in this shot, the Pixel seems to have a couple of bumps. The one thing that I do notice with the Google Pixel 9 Pro is its stabilization compensates for the up and down movement, whereas the Osmo Pocket 3 only compensates for the horizon and the rotation, but it still does a great job. Then I also tested out stabilization on an uneven surface like this, so we could really put the cameras through the test. Again, both cameras did extremely well, but the Osmo Pocket 3 has the slight edge in my opinion. You almost wouldn't even be able to tell that I was moving because it's so smooth. Next, I tested out how both cameras would react if I switched them over to program auto exposure and I did this transition from dark to light. The Pixel blew the Pocket 3 out of the water just by looking at this comparison. Look at the difference in the exposure as we go from the shade to the bright sun. The Osmo Pocket 3 is so overexposed on my face, it just almost looks like it's blown out until it finally transitions to the proper exposure. The Pixel quickly fixes the exposure to match the lighting environment. However, my skin tones are a bit oversaturated. Take a look at this wide-angle distortion shot that I got. There is a big difference in the colors, as you can see when you're looking at the ground and the sky, and the building itself. The Pixel is pretty saturated, but its exposure is doing pretty good, especially with the building. It has a lot of detail, even with that ultra-wide lens. The Pocket 3, on the other hand, has more of a washed out look, and it did overexpose the sky a little bit, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner. And look at the difference in the watercolors of each of these shots. The Pixel is like a light turquoise blue, whereas the Pocket 3 has almost a darker blue look. Let me know which one you prefer in the comments. If you're trying to get cinematic type shots, you're probably gonna wanna shoot in 4K 24. Take a look at this shot that I got in that frame rate and resolution, and I was in an indoor lighting environment. Both cameras are gimbal-like smooth, and from this shot alone, it tells me that both of these cameras would be great for real estate cameras. Next, I tested out 4K 60 frame rate with both of these cameras, and I wanted to see which one had a smoother look to them. Both cameras are very smooth, especially on playback. I'll give this one to the Pixel, but that's only because you can see the up and down movement with the Pocket 3. The next thing I did was shoot in slow motion 1080-60 with both of these cameras, and both of their image quality looks good to me, but the Pixel does seem a little bit noisy and more saturated. The Pocket 3 definitely seems like it's gonna need some color grading though. Next, I did a backlighting shot where I shot straight into the sun. And in both of these shots, you can see a very apparent ghost flare underneath the sun. The ghost flare on the Pixel is much bigger and more noticeable because it's jumping around, and I would be careful about shooting towards the sun with any smartphone because of their ghost flares. I prefer the look of the sun with the Pocket 3 because it looks more realistic and cinematic. One of the best times to get cinematic shots is during the golden hour. The Pixel is more saturated in this shot, as you can see, and the Pocket 3 overexposed the skies, which doesn't look too cinematic in my opinion. Now take a look at the difference on the sun flares with both of these cameras. The Pixel looks cool, but it isn't actually what the sun looks like in real life, so I would prefer the Pocket 3. The Pocket 3 looks more realistic again in my opinion when it comes to the actual sun's color. The Pixel just looks like an orange ball, whereas the Pocket 3 has a cooler temperature and a richer tone. Next, I filmed the sky to see how the colors would differentiate, and both cameras look almost pretty close in color, in my opinion. Although the Pocket 3 does have slightly more depth in its blue. I set both of these cameras up as an A-cam, B-cam setup, and I think that the Pixel and the Pocket 3 would make a great A-cam, B-cam setup. The Pixel has less detail because we aren't in the best lighting environment, but it still looks pretty good in my opinion. But if I could redo this shot, I would actually make the Pocket 3 be my main A-cam and the Pixel be my B-cam because the Pocket 3 has more detail. Both cameras seem to tie in autofocus. Everything is pretty much already in focus, and that's due to the fact that they both have a fixed aperture. I also tested out the camera's white balance shift and how it would react in different lighting situations. And you can see that the Pixel did much better than the Pocket 3, but neither camera actually did that well. This is why I would always recommend for you to manually set your white balance in camera. For all of my short form content creators out there, I did a couple of vertical tests for you so you could see what it looked like. And as you can see, I filmed this video several months ago. The Christmas tree with the Pixel has a lot more color, and it looks like it has more ornaments on the tree. And the Pocket 3 has less color, but it does look more realistic to me. It's interesting how in every single comparison, the Pixel was consistently more saturated than the Pocket 3. However, the Pocket 3 is more saturated in this shot. Now, how do both cameras do if you were to walk and vlog? And here is that comparison. Both cameras are great vlog cameras because they're so stabilized. The Pocket 3 seems undersaturated in my opinion, whereas the Pixel 9 Pro seems to be a little bit oversaturated. And here's the audio test from that vlog test. Here's the Google Pixel 9 Pro doing that same exact vlog shot. We're looking at the skin tones, the saturation, we're looking at the stabilization, and we're also listening to that audio. Here's our vlog shot test with the Osmo Pocket 3. We are not only looking at the stabilization, but we're looking at the skin tones and also listening to that audio, that native mic right out of the Osmo Pocket 3. Please let me know in the comments which one you thought had better sounding audio when you're using the native mics. After the vlog test, I jumped back into the studio to test out the colors and the sharpness and the detail. And you can see from this color board shot that we get that oversaturation from the smartphone that we've been talking about throughout this entire video. And in this overhead shot, I like the skin tones better of the Pocket 3 than the Pixel. The Pixel looks more dreamy than the Pocket 3. It seems like the skin tones have some type of smoothing effect going on. And also, as you can see, the skin tones seem to be a little bit more saturated, which is what we've been getting this whole time with the Google Pixel 9 Pro. While I was in here, I tested out the green screen capabilities of both of these cameras, and they both look very similar, although the greens are different. But that did not stop the keying process from being successful. The Pixel looks good, but it has a little bit less detail in the shadows because the Pixel lifts up those midtones like we were talking about. Some people might like that a little bit better because that means less work in post-production. But the Pocket 3 has more detail than the Pixel, and as you can see, when the light's hitting them both, it tends to look a little bit better. But I could use either of these cameras if my main goal was doing green screen work. In this actual product shot, there is a big difference in the colors and in the detail, as you can see by looking at this particular shot. The Pixel 9 Pro almost has a flashy, plasticky look to it on the black handle, and it also oversaturates it a bit. Whereas the Osmo Pocket 3 is able to hold on to those deeper blacks in the shadows a lot more, which is what I prefer between these two shots. The Google Pixel 9 Pro has a sleek and very portable body that I can just throw into my pocket, whereas I have to be kind of careful with the Pocket 3 because it does have a gimbal head on the top of it, and if I drop it, it could easily break. Both cameras do have USB-C ports on the bottom, which is used for charging and data transfer, and audio out and audio input, and a few other features. The Pixel 9 Pro has all of its buttons on the side of its body, while the Osmo Pocket 3 doesn't have any on its side. Instead, all of the buttons are on the front of the camera, and the Osmo Pocket 3 has a joystick which will allow you to move the gimbal head without touching it. I like the Pixel's playback interface because it has a much bigger display, and the display is a lot more touch sensitive than the Pocket 3. You can shoot up to 4K resolution and 60 frames per second, or 8K resolution and 30 frames per second with the Pixel 9 Pro, whereas with the Pocket 3 you can shoot in 4K resolution up to 120 frames per second. The Pocket 3 definitely has more creative options than the Pixel 9 Pro. However, this also means that it has a larger learning curve than the Pixel 9 Pro. The Pixel 9 Pro and the Osmo Pocket 3 both deliver great looking results, but they do cater to slightly different people and styles of content. The Pixel stands out with its vibrant colors, its fast exposure adjustments, and its user-friendly design and portability. And in my opinion, it's perfect for creators who want speed and convenience without sacrificing quality. On the other hand, the Osmo Pocket 3 offers more manual control when it comes to exposure, smoother stabilization with its built-in gimbal head, and a more natural and cinematic looking image that's ideal for people who like to vlog or storytell, or they have detail-focused projects. Now, when it comes to me, I prefer a dedicated camera in my hands, and it's for that reason that I choose the Osmo Pocket 3, because I think it delivers a better image quality, especially when I'm in low light conditions. But that's only because it has a larger sensor. Also, I don't know if I touched on this, but the Pixel 9 Pro has several different cameras that you can choose from, whereas the Pocket 3 only has one camera and one focal length. Please let me know which one of these two cameras you like better and why. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Joe with the Film Alliance, and I'll see you on the next video. One of the most asked questions that I receive is, which camera should I buy? I know that you want to make the right decision, and it's a big decision. You want to find the camera that best suits your needs and stays within your budget. Many of you know which camera might be for you, but you need some guidance pinpointing it and feeling confident in your decision. That's why I made this course. I want to put my camera experience and knowledge into a compact and easy to follow format. I jam-packed it with camera buying fundamentals that I guarantee you will carry through the rest of your camera journey. I based this entire course on all the things that I wish I had known or someone had told me when I first started out. From understanding different camera types and their features to matching them with your specific video and photography needs, this course covers it all. After finishing, I'm confident that you'll finally have clarity over every angle and aspect that you might consider when buying a camera. I'll guide you through my entire camera buying process, taking you 90% of the way there. That way you'll be well prepared to make your decision. This is essentially all the guidance that I would give my own brother if he asked me, "Hey Joe, which camera should I buy?" Now I'm going to share that insight with you.